Welcome to a new episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast, episode 400.
Hell yeah, dude!
That's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, when you think about 400,
a lot of episodes,
that's
dude.
like,
400.
You can listen to an episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast every day of the year and still have some left over to start the new year.
Yeah, if the movie 300 was named 400, they probably would have beaten the Persians. You know, 100 more Spartans.
Yeah,
put that in perspective.
I mean,
it's random. A random thought there.
Random. It was random. I read something too that apparently there's a 300 TV series in development. I'm like, why?
Why?
The movie told the story. I mean, how are you going to drag that out into a TV series? I'm like,
are there going to be filler episodes where Leonidas just bangs his wife?
I know, right?
Like Game of Thrones. Like, come here. I require your wifeliness.
I mean, I like 300, but it's like, why? You don't need a TV series. You know, like you could make like a cool anime, maybe.
Oh yeah, like Terminator, like the Terminator anime that's supposed to be coming out.
But you don't need a 300 TV show.
Yeah,
very strange. But yeah, man, 400 episodes, man. 10 years of doing this, and we're not usually with our 100th episodes, we kind of do a lot of celebrating and a lot of extra stuff, and we're really kind of keeping our 400th a little more low key this year because we still. I know we've been promising this for like 2 months, but we do have in the plans to make an official 10th anniversary episode. And me and Matt just pre-show were talking about that. And I think we'll get it done here in the next couple of weeks. And, so that'll be our big celebration for the year. But 400 is still nothing to take a swing at. A lot of podcasts don't make it this long. And I guess it's a tribute to a pat on the back to ourselves to keep pushing.
Yes.
And that fact that we get a few people every week that listen to it and keeps us going, gives us hope that people enjoy the show. And we don't get a lot of feedback sometimes because people are relatively quiet on social media. But if you're in our Facebook group, we you like stuff and tell us things. We do appreciate it. And we know there's some very loyal listeners out there, and we don't know exactly who you are. Maybe you're sitting in Honduras somewhere, and you're like, "Whoa, those radio guys are pretty awesome," And
Honduras,
or maybe you met us at Comicpalooza and you listen to the show, and that's pretty cool too. And or at Misfit Toys or a live show or something like that, and somewhere along the line. But we've had a lot of fun doing this, and like I said, we're gonna delve deeper into like our favorite moments and favorite things on our 10th anniversary episode. But I think I'm just going to pick one moment now throughout the 400 episodes that stands out to me. And I think that's still one of my favorite episodes we ever did. I don't know why. I really enjoyed our 501st live episode we did at Comicpalooza. And that one was a little different than the live episodes they do now at Comicpalooza. Because back then, there was just sort of a podcast booth.
Yeah.
We didn't really have audiences, right? Then they started doing the audience thing. And which is cool, but we just sat with a couple members of 501st and we talked Star Wars and we were in our element, and that's probably one of my favorite live shows we did.
We were just having fun, man.
Then my second favorite, honestly, was I thought the Terminator 2 episode of Comicpalooza a couple years ago went really well. It's probably our biggest audience we ever had.
Yeah,
and it did well.
We had good audience participation too.
Yeah. Then the couple of live shows we did at Misfit Toys are always fun. And, maybe one day we'll get back there. Daniel's always welcome to it. It's just a matter of us and our schedules getting our butts over there. But I think as introverted as I am, and I don't really like talking in front of people, when it's all said and done, I do like getting out of my comfortability zone, and I usually end up enjoying the live shows.
Yeah. No, I'd say, man, I remember the times – the time I first went to CP, and man, like you said, they put us in the in weird spots. Like we were next to that damn machine
clicky
for the
thing, that second. Yeah.
I was telling Jared, who helped us at Comicpalooza. I was like, they used to have us next to the fucking timeshare people, and they're just spinning this fucking wheel, and we're trying to talk. And you just hear just randomly. And he's like, no way. And I was like, yeah, man, they had us over there.
One year we were in between, like the very first year we were in between like a couple of people selling stuff.
Yeah.
It was weird.
randomly.
And people were walking by and we're trying to catch people and things.
Yeah.
And
So
it was weird.
it's come a long way for sure. And then, the time where we got to do our Batman Returns little panel upstairs. That was pretty cool. We got some action there and some audience members talking about or bringing up stuff about what Batmobile they liked, and that was pretty fun. Obviously, I'm very partial to the Arnold tribute that we did. We had some people doing Arnold impersonations. We had to coax Justin into doing it, and then we had some trivia. But that was pretty good. That was when Comicpalooza was trying to come back after COVID, and I felt like that was pretty fun. People were excited, and we got some good participation out of that one for sure. And then, lately it's like I think whenever we do recent episodes, I feel like that's when we get a lot of participation. And I had a friend that joined us when we, listened in when we did the Flash episode, talked about the Flash, and we got really good feedback from him. And he just, was like, man, I really love how you guys start out, and how you guys break down the movie. And, he said that he felt that whenever we talked about the Flash, that he felt the same way about it. He was a big DC fan. So whenever we do modern films that just came out, I feel like, that's a cool thing. Cause you don't expect us to do that. We change it up. We're usually retrospective.
Usually.
Yeah. Certain films, that one film comes out and we're like, you know what, we got to talk about this one.
And then sometimes we
man,
do things like Wonder Woman 84, and then we're like, oh, maybe we should not have done this one.
Maybe we shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
It was good, but it could be better.
Yeah. And also, I also, before we move in fully into today's episode, I want to give this shout out because I was talking to him at Comicpalooza. You're making me think about, and that's Dan Price. Who if our very first episode, it might have even been the one we called episode 0, which ended up becoming episode 1. And we were at Comicpalooza. We weren't sure what in the hell we were doing. We were trying to start this podcast, and maybe it was the second or third episode, but it was very early on. And we were like, well, let's walk around Comicpalooza. And I don't even know if you were there. I think it might have just been me.
No, because
I'll try to get
15. Yeah.
I'll try to get a couple interviews. And so we, Dan, man, who I've known through Comicpalooza for several years now, and super nice guy, currently drawing Bigfoot Loves Karate or Knows Karate, which is a fantastic comic book he makes. And he did the Latex Avenger. And so him and his friend Bon, his fellow artists, were willing to do an interview. And just a nice shout out to them. And thank you for being our first interview subjects. Rest in peace to Bon, who was a great sport. And, may he be at peace where he is now. And, so shout out to Dan. I caught up with him at Comicpalooza and chatted with him a little while, and just always good to see him. And I always thank him for being our first interview subjects and being good sports, because I was so nervous. I was like, but it came out well, talking about their comic and stuff. And now we're still doing this thing 10 years later and all that. And, and here we go, 400 episodes, and full speed ahead. And and you can find almost all those episodes. Baby. That's it. I don't know if we'll make another 400, but I think we'll hit 500. We'll keep going.
Definitely.
For sure. And
man, meet people along the way, some more people along the way. Definitely are going to try and have more episodes at different places, and we're going to keep bringing you content for the near future for sure. And we'll see how far we can keep going with this, man. I don't think there's a shortage of movies. That's for damn sure. So we're definitely going to be reviewing new and old, and tell you why they're fucking badass, like this film that we're going to hit up on today. Because a lot of reasons for this one for sure.
And we've got fun stuff coming up this summer. We'll make the official announcement towards the end of the show. It's going to be our summer of blockbusters, just doing blockbuster films throughout the summer instead of cult classics, things like that. It's just going to be blockbuster summer. And just keep up with us, though, at the rebelradiopodcast.com. That's the best spot to go for all your information. And you can find all our social media links on there and stuff. And, but that said, it's been kind of a week, with work and things like that. And then we got done with Compalooza, recorded Sunday night, released the episode Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And haven't really had a lot of time to sit down and watch extra stuff this week. But I did make it to the theater, even though I'd have a lot of extra time at home. And I went and saw Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. And man, this movie is fucking great. I mean, it's such a perfect companion to Fury Road. It's different than Fury Road in a way where Fury Road is absolutely exhilarating. Where Furiosa is more of a history story, telling the backstory of her as she goes through the wasteland. And it's extremely well done. It's Chris Hemsworth, man, let me tell you, don't let the prosthetic nose distract you. Once you get into it, he is standing in the movie. It's one of the best things I've seen him do. He hams up. He has a good time. He's awesome. The entire cast does good, man. They the world opens up to be even more bizarre than it was. And I can tell you now, I think we can confirm this, even though George Miller never admitted to it, it's definitely a soft reboot of the Mad Max series. I think Furiosa confirms that with some of the things that are in this film. Mm-hmm. George Miller always tried to sell Fury Road as just, a different Mad Max story like James Bond. But no, it's definitely kind of a soft reboot from the Mad Max films. It's awesome, man. It has great action sequences, just like Fury Road did. Great special effects, just a really cool backstory, and it all literally leads up almost to where Mad Max Fury Road begins, and that's what's cool about it. So it's such a perfect companion piece. It might be almost, dare I say, a perfect prequel. I mean, where prequels have been a thing since The Phantom Menace back in 1999. Yeah. Some prequels are good and some are, but this one is one of the best prequels I've seen done. And unfortunately, it's not blowing things up at the box office. There's already talks that Warner Brothers is not sure if they want to greenlight The Wasteland, and that's a shame because I really hope George Miller gets to make one more. Man, Fury Road found a lot of audience. People forget Fury Road wasn't a massive box office success, but it got the Oscar nominations and some wins. And Fury Road found a lot of overseas success. So hopefully Furiosa does the same and finds a lot of success streaming as well, because it deserves to have the third film made in this little saga. And I hope George Miller is because he's ready to go. The script is ready. Everything's ready. They've apparently some minor pre-production has already started on, set designs, things like that, stuff they can do without budget, because they have artists and things that can do that. Hopefully it gets made. But Furiosa, man, it's definitely worth seeing. And it's definitely one of those films, like, you say these words, got to see on the big screen. Furiosa, man, I went to the XD screening. And what was nice about it, I enjoy going to the movie on a Friday morning. I took my oldest with me. There was like only 200 people in theater. So I think the surround sound experience is better when there's less people in theater. You can hear like the engines from the cars coming from behind you. Sometimes when you're in a theater full of people and they're rustling their popcorn and stuff, you can't hear that. I kind of think I preferred going like that in the morning, where you could really hear the sounds of the film, and the sound of the film is what you expect from a movie with a lot of cars and motorcycles, and it's fucking awesome, But Anna Taylor-Joy, any doubts people had about her taking the role from Charlize Theron playing the younger Furiosa is out the window early on. She's fantastic, really good young actress.
I like her.
Yeah,
Last Night in Soho. She's been in some other films.
Yeah. But man, this is a cool ass fucking movie, man. I mean, we're just now to June 1st or June 2nd, and we've already had Dune Part 2, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I think I might already have 3 of my top 5 movies of the year already for our end of the year list, and I don't know what else will be on it. I know we still have Deadpool, Wolverine, and we've got some good stuff coming out later in the year, but the Lord of the Rings animated film that's coming out later this year. But right now, man, I've already got 3 movies that will probably be on my list. And it's and it's fucking great, man. But Furiosa is so good. But man, that's a really I haven't, like I said, I haven't had a lot of time to watch anything else this week. But did go see that, man. It was worth every second.
Yeah, I really wanted to try and go see it, and I just didn't make it. But I did. I saw Rose McGowan at Comic Palooza, and I saw Planet Terror was on Amazon or one of the subscriptions I've got on Amazon Prime, and I was like, I'm gonna watch it, and man, Rose was like flaunting it in that film a bit, and I was like, I'd forgotten like old or young Rose McGowan, other than like her role as like Tatum in Scream, which is probably the first time I saw her on screen. And that movie is just so fucking ridiculous. And I know it was supposed to be. It's it's Robert Rodriguez, but it's it's just crazy. The guy got El Rey. The guy's just flipping the guns and stuff, and then the guy who plays Sex Machine from Dusk Till Dawn is just like, holy shit, whoa.
Yeah, he's a Hollywood stunt and makeup guy.
Yeah. And just everyone hamming it up big time, and obviously the gun, the M4 with the grenade launcher for a leg is pretty fucking badass. Stripper with a gun for a leg. She's our only hope. She blows people up.
Oh, I love the movie. It's on our short list for Halloween horrors this year.
Yes. We should fucking do it, man. Rose McGowan's been to Comic Palooza like 3 times. So I feel like she'd be an honorary Houstonian almost. She lives in Mexico.
Let's be real here.
Yeah. No, it's true. Like in her interview, she's like, yes, I'm wearing sandals with socks. It's happening. And I was like, what are you? I was like, what celebrity does this? Except for her 40-year-old dads, and then she's like, and yes, they're both, they sold me the same shoe. So like she had 2 left feet sandals, and she's wearing them with white socks, like a 90s 40-year-old dad would do. That dad would wear like fucking long white socks and wear the sandals.
I've worn socks on my Crocs before, but I am a 40-something-year-old dad. Yeah. I don't like the way Crocs touch my feet, so I like socks on.
Mine are loose. My Crocs are loose, so I have to admit I wear my Crocs with socks as well.
And I don't really wear them in public anyway. They're more for like going to the backyard, around the house stuff. Maybe if I jump in the car to go through the drive-through, maybe I throw them on, but I don't really go out in public in my Crocs. So
Yeah. But she's been living in Mexico.
Nobody sees me wearing socks with them.
No one sees it. It just happens indoors. Right. But yeah, man, that'd be fun doing Grindhouse. Was she in Death Proof too?
Don't think so.
I think that was
a bunch of other girls.
Yeah, a bunch of other girls. But yeah, that's really the extent. I slacked big time on this week. Hopefully I can get some more content for next week. Maybe I can find a way.
I did rewatch Godzilla Minus One because it hit Netflix yesterday with a surprise drop on.
That's right.
Toho came out of nowhere and announced this late Friday evening that it was dropping to digital platforms and Netflix on June 1st on Saturday. So, and there's an English dub version of Netflix. It's not good though. Don't watch it. I watched about 5 minutes of it because I'm like, why this is bad? Even White's like, yeah, it's not good dubbing.
Wow.
It's available on digital platforms. Apparently, Minus Color is only on Vudu right now, and Minus Color is only in HD. Now, Minus One is in 4K on Vudu. They kind of jit people. They separated them as different files, so you have to buy them separate. I didn't buy either yet since I have a bootleg, and I can watch it on Netflix. I'm still waiting for a full Blu-ray release of this. If they drop it to like $10 on Vudu, it's only $14.99, but I might pick up the 4K because I really want to see how it looks in 4K. And But rewatching it last night, man, this is my third viewing, twice in color, once in minus color, and it's such an exhilarating film, man. I still love it. That's fantastic, man. And it's funny, I bought the bootleg and I haven't even watched my bootleg yet. But just man, it just stands hold of our best movie of 2023, man. And so if you have not had a chance to see Godzilla Minus One, it is on Netflix now in the U.S. and available to buy on almost all digital platforms, which was kind of a cool surprise. There were a lot of rumors a few weeks ago that it was dropping around the beginning of June, but Toho didn't confirm it. No one knew. And then they're just sort of like, oh, hey, guess what? It's streaming tonight at midnight. Godzilla Minus One, and
Surprise.
There it is. But I hope that it gets a Blu-ray release. That's the only thing that scares me by having a surprise streaming. But then again, a lot of movies do get streaming releases first, and they like Dune Part 2 just hit Blu-ray this week. It's been streaming for about a month now. So that's just the platform we live in now, and it makes you wonder, man. Like, people talking about Furiosa flop at the box office, and a lot of films are having huge opening weekends and they're dropping off. You're not, since Avatar came out, The Way of Water, you haven't really had a lot of movies that have legs that are staying in theaters long. And to me, I love going to movies and I'm not going to stop. But I think that general audiences really are getting to the point like, you take 4 or 5 kids and buy drinks, it's costing you $100 for the movie. And I think general audiences are starting to say, you know what, I can wait 45 days because you can buy it at home for 25, which is, sometimes I make fun of you for, buying them so quickly, but but that's because you already saw them. If you haven't seen them and you're like, well, you know what, I can go to the movies, but I can buy this at home and it's going to cost me the same as if I bought 4 tickets for all the kids. So I think a lot of audiences are getting to that point. And I know movie theaters doing things like the collector bucket, the luxury seating and the D-box seating and things like that. But it's like, I don't know what it's going to take to get people back in the movies. I don't think theaters will go away, but I do still feel like they're going to start becoming a bit more of a niche thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Most of the time, me and Jackie, we just go, unless it's something the kids really, really want to see, then we'll take them all out. But it's like usually we just go ourselves. That way it's like a $20 trip to the movies, and then, you get time away. It's kind of, you're out and about by yourself. You can get some stuff done. And that's cool, being able to enjoy a movie by yourself, kid-free, free of distractions too. But it's like, like you said, it's like taking everybody to the movies. I've got a family of 6. Like you said, you better set aside $100 because especially if you don't sneak some candy in, because they're gonna be up there. Oh, I want this, I want that, and it's like, man, you got 2 buckets of popcorns. Everyone's got drinks, and then everyone gets snacks. Boom, $100. You could have taken your family out to dinner, versus spending $20 on a film you can watch at home. You can heat up your own popcorn. You've got sodas already. You can just sit down in your living room, especially if you're set up with a nice setup. It's not bad.
Yeah, no, it's just the times we're in, I suppose. And it's just the times we're in, man. Times are changing, and but I hope that theaters continue to survive. And I think you have filmmakers like Steven Spielberg and James Cameron, and people are still making movies, and they're going to keep it going. And the new generation, guys like Denis Villeneuve making Dune and things like that, and those generations will keep theaters going. Christopher Nolan brings people into the seats. Oppenheimer and Barbie were both huge last year for the summer movies.
Huge, dude.
I was looking ahead to this summer. I mean, you have Inside Out Part 2, which I think will be successful for Pixar. Pixar's been a while since they've had a hit, but I think this one will probably do well. Deadpool and Wolverine. I know MCU needs a big hit, but even that I don't feel is going to be more than. It'll have a huge opening weekend. It's already tracking for about 100 million. And then after that, it'll drop off. I mean, it's a rated R film. Deadpool and Wolverine, I bet it tops at 200. I'm just going to be honest with it. It'll have a huge opening weekend. And after that, it'll drop. Alien Romulus, it looks awesome, but it's going to have a limited audience. It's a rated R film. But it's in it's going to take movies like the next Avatar and things like that. We'll bring people to the theaters to go see, because they'll go see a James Cameron film. They'll go see, a really big Steven Spielberg film. And, they're going to, and I can see why they're making another Jurassic Park film. Why not? I mean, they said they were done with the Jurassic World trilogy, but every single one of those movies has been highly successful. People like to see dinosaurs.
Yeah,
So,
dude.
Um,
Big monsters,
and then you
baby.
Then you have an absence of major franchises right now. There's no Star Trek on the big screen. There's no Star Wars on the big screen. And no news of them in the path. Yes, Star Wars has announced a couple of movies, but they've announced them. Past that, what? They haven't announced anything new. When are these movies coming? And people want to see that kind of stuff in theaters. So we have in major franchises, as much as people say, "Oh, another sequel," that's what people go see. They like that stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it's going to take to save cinema. But, we're going to do our very small part in the world to keep talking movies and discussing cinema ourselves, because it's one of my favorite pastimes. I was raised going to the movies in theaters. I still remember standing in line with my dad to see Batman 1989, and that probably changed my perspective on life at 13 years old, seeing Batman on the big screen. That changed a lot for me.
Yeah.
And I'm probably, as much as I credit Star Wars for doing what we do, seeing Batman on the big screen is probably even as much of a big of a reason that we podcast. And I love movies so much,
Yeah.
And,
I have to agree. I think, man, that's cool that you. I don't know what epic movie I saw in the 90s other than the re-release of the special editions. But I know for me, it's like, remembering back to waiting in lines. I remember back to whenever Lord of the Rings came out in theaters, and just like trying to fight for a seat, because it's like, you didn't have what you have now. Now you have an app where you can reserve your seats, and you just don't have that anymore. Times were different. It's like, I remember showing up and trying to, hurry up and get to the theater. They open the doors and everyone's just trying to find a seat, and you're hoping you can find one together with your family, before everyone rushes in, and you're stuck sitting like right up front in the handicap spots, where the sound is just blaring at you, because why do they even have seats in the very front row of the movie anyways? It's like, I feel like who can watch it like that? Maybe if your vision's really, really bad and you have to sit right up there, but that can't be healthy for you. But man, different times, definitely, versus going to movies then versus now. You just bringing that up, that made me think about it.
Yeah. But that said, today's film we chose for our 400th episode, we had a hit tradition of Star Wars movies on 100, 200, and 300. And people were like, well, you have the prequels. I'm like, yeah, but, we wanted to do something different. And so I chose a film. I wouldn't say we, because I'd say I did choose this. A movie that this is only the second time I've seen it, but it's a true masterpiece. One of the most sorry, I'm looking for the right word. Influential films ever made. That went on to inspire Star Wars and many other films. The movie's been remade as The Magnificent Seven, and I'm not talking the Chris Pratt film. I'm talking the original Magnificent Seven.
A Bug's Life
is a remake of that. Bug's Life. Numerous an episode of The Mandalorian. Numerous times the story's been told, but the movie we're talking about is 1954's directed by Akira Kurosawa, and that is Seven Samurai. This movie is an epic of a different type from a different era. It's such a simple story about villagers that are being threatened by bandits, and they are stealing their food and things like that, and they're afraid they're not going to make it through their harvest. And the bandits tell them, "We're just going to wait till your harvest, and we're going to come back." So they decide to hatch a plan to hire samurai to protect their village before harvest is over when these bandits come back. And so they go out to find these samurai. And it's interesting. They say, well, we don't have any money. There is a underlying sense of humor about this film.
The
has a sense of
slapstick
humor to
comedy.
it.
Yeah.
It also has a darkness to it. It also has a just a very big drama feel to it. And so, well, we only have rice of you. Well, you better find hungry samurai, which is
Yes.
funny. So so that's basically it, man. They find these 7 samurai who reluctantly agree to protect this village, and they hatch a plan to protect the village, and they do that, and a lot happens throughout this film. But this movie is it's 3.5 hours long, and the movie for a long time was a lot of cinemas would show it cut. And it took many years for the full version was able to be seen in theaters on a regular basis. It's cool. It has an intermission in the middle of it, which is pretty
Yes.
neat because those old timey movies did that. So you can go to the bathroom and get your drink of water or whatever. It's told. I like the way the story is told. It's told almost like reading a book. It's epic, but it's not epic in the sense of like let's take an example of the Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is epic and it has a lot of really drawn out long scenes. This has a bunch of more shorter scenes and put together like reading chapters of a book. And I think that's what makes it unfold in a nice pace. And it's also remarkably well acted. The set designs are unbelievable. I mean, for 1954, this movie took over about a year to film, from the costumes, the sets, to the weapons and the things they used to put all this together. It's raining a lot in the movie, but a lot of that is because it rained a lot, and it was a very rainy season in Japan that year, and they just decided to go with it and use the rain as part of the film. That's why there's so much rain in this movie. There's nothing they could do about it. The actors they chose all do their parts very well. And it's also, modern society has this view of samurai being wearing bold armor and being like more than giants, but classic Japanese culture tells you that there were samurai like that, but they are also, a lot of the Ronin and samurai were also very just kind of nonchalant, about themselves. They didn't want the spotlight. And this movie takes more of that approach. These are just samurais are just kind of, they're samurai, but they're not wearing the fancy armor. They just want to fit in and mind their own business. And so there's a lot of things like that I like about this movie. And so you had never seen it before. So
Right.
Go ahead, man. Shoot some thoughts.
Yeah, man. One thing that this movie does really good is it has a lot of characters, not just background characters. These are, you've got farmers, farmers' daughters, farmers' kids, and no one is a throwaway character. Nobody. And that's why this film is so long, too, is because it takes the time to develop these characters, every single one of them. Down to the farmer who feels like the samurai could be just as bad as the bandits and feels like he's going to choose between the lesser of two evils, and he wants his daughter to look like a man so that they won't rape her. And those are thoughts racking through his head. And then you've got another farmer whose wife went to go be with the bandits, and he lost his wife, and he's having trouble coping with that. And everyone's got their story. And then Mifune's character is not really a samurai at all, but joins I almost said Magnificent Seven, the Seven Samurai, because he was a peasant like these farmers, and he sees himself in these people, and just wow, the action, the drama, seeing some of the scenes happen, like the first samurai we see, the older samurai. He disguises himself. It tells us so much about his character. That he's witty, that he's smart. And then whenever you see the implied action, you don't see the bandit getting killed at the beginning who has this child hostage, and where the scene that you see this person, the samurai appear in, you don't see him get killed, but the slow motion that happens there and the death, it's all meaningful. It's not like watching a Michael Bay film where, Megatron's in slow motion just so you can see the CGI. it's a dramatized effect
Yeah.
to enhance the, what happened in the scene. And, you see the samurai step out, and he's very humble. He talks about how he loses more than he wins. And he sees these farmers getting made fun of by other people who have money. They have no money. And he's like, you know what? Damn it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to help these guys out. And he's like, I will not let this rice go to waste. He knows that, just like in Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom, the food that they're given is very valuable and had a lot of, a lot of effort went into getting it. And so, he's not going to let them down. He's not going to turn down their offer, and he helps them. And that's just, a couple examples, but just his ability to get all of that into this film, make everything meaningful, and have the battle. You grasp the effect of the battle because they line out the layout of the village. The weak spot of the village. The strong points of the village. So whenever they're like, oh, we have to go to the southern part of the village, oh crap, that's the weak side. And all of this stuff is laid out in great detail to where you understand everything that's happening. And it makes it to where everything has purpose in this film. And there's really not a throwaway moment. There's no throwaway moment. There's no throwaway shot. And it doesn't focus on the hero like a Marvel film would be, where you just see Captain America, hit, punching bad guys. It shows you the entire battle. So you get the significance of what these people are fighting against and what they're up against. Yes, and that's cool too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I want to touch that. That's why this is such a cinematic film, because, it shows you where we came from and there's nothing wrong with John Wick and the movies we watched today. We enjoy them, but sometimes I really appreciate the camera pulled back and seeing what's going on in a scene throughout from like a wide shot, seeing the whole battle, which is something a lot of directors now, they want to pull the camera in and they want to see, John Wick punching up close or Captain America. And you don't quite get a sense of the scope of sometimes what's going on. You don't get the great sets. Like a perfect example, like John Wick, in John Wick 4, the scene inside the temple in Japan, or not the hotel in Japan. It's a wonderful set, right? And the cameras pull in and you see the set and everything and set up the battle. But once the battle starts, the set goes away. It's all up close shots. And where Kurosawa was able, like you said, he has this very cinematic feel of letting you see the entire set and what's going on. And the only other modern directors, Christopher Nolan is good at that. You see the tumbler going through Gotham City from a wide shot, and you see what's going on. But a lot of these directors nowadays don't always capture that. And Kurosawa did a good job with that.
Yeah. You get a lot of films right now. They just they want to see the action shot. They want to see the kicks, the punches, the close-ups of just, like you said, John Wick shooting a gun. But you don't see what's going on around him, really. Maybe the only thing I can think of that you could, maybe gets a pass is the mirror scene because of what they were trying to go for. But pulling the camera back and seeing everything kind of doesn't happen as much as it used to.
Yeah, I'm also impressed with, we talked about this before when we do these older films, is just the amount of work that you imagine. Sitting down, Kurosawa was sitting in his office in 1952, 53, getting ready to make this film. But, imagine he's writing the script and then they're planning all this and the amount of work that goes into this film, from all these costumes to all these weapons. And then they don't have the tech we have now. They don't have in Japan at that time. I don't know how big the crew was, but I can't imagine being a crew like they have now, where you're making a Batman film now and they probably have 500 people working on the movie, from special effects work to costumes and all this. I imagine it's half that, if that, maybe 200 people back then. and to pull all this off. And then the editing. I mean, this was all edited by hand back then on film reels. There's no digital editing. And this is a 3 hour and 27-minute film. And I can't help but appreciate the amount of work. Like, this is an art form, this kind of movie they made to do all that, you know? And that is in itself absolutely incredible. You know, and when he sold the film to American audiences, they didn't believe a 3.5 hour film would play well. So that's why the movie was cut. But the movie did find success, because even back then, audiences would appreciate a great film.
Yes.
It's still considered the greatest foreign language film ever made by a lot of people. And it's an all-time classic for sure. And it's without this movie, it may not open up, you know, movies like Seven Samurai's success plays some success to Godzilla getting an American release a couple years later, because they found that there were audiences that would watch films from other countries. Because if I remember correctly, this had a pretty quick American release for the time, because it was so successful in Japan. I think it hit America the next year, in 1955. Yeah,
and that's why we were like, you're like, oh man, is it 70 years old or how?
Yeah,
you know, but yeah.
Which is pretty unheard of back then.
And what's funny is you talked about the length of the film. I guess the studio was arguing with Akira a lot, and so he wouldn't argue with them. I guess he would just go fishing, and then he'd be like, "Yeah, you know, they spent all this money. They're gonna let the film happen." And sure enough, he was right. He's like, "Okay, well, I'm just gonna go fish." Yeah, that was funny.
This is his way of handling it. But yeah, you know, and just the fact that with this movie is inspired. I mean, George Lucas always counted this as one of his biggest reasons he wanted to be a filmmaker. You know, Steven Spielberg, you know, you name it. And there's probably not a film director out there who's not seen this film. I would imagine if you go to film school, this would be required viewing. You know, I mean, of how to make an epic masterpiece and how to tell a story. And I think that's what's, you know, like, I appreciate the Western Magnificent Seven from the 1960s. That's a great film. But then, like the Chris Pratt film, I enjoyed it. It's fun, but it's a modern take on this where it's like there's no story behind the men. There's no story. It's like, let's just get to the action. We got Chris Pratt, and who was it? Was it Denzel Washington was in that movie? Like, oh,
I think Denzel.
We don't need to. Yeah, we don't need to sell this movie. People watch it because they're in it. You know,
exactly.
Where the original takes the time to tell these men's story, and that's what you talked about earlier. Like, every character in this movie is important, and
there's
I think
different conflicts going on.
Epic, yeah.
Like in this dynasty, in this era of Japan, there were 3 different classes. There was merchants, farmers, you had samurai, and they really didn't intermingle. So the romance that happens between the samurai and the farmer, that's why it's frowned upon by a lot of people. Yeah. That's like, you don't do that, and it's forbidden love. And then, you know, these people, they just didn't work together. So this is a film that says, you know, hey, you can unite under a common cause. But it's sad because, you know, the samurai, they come in, they're unwelcomed when they come in, and Mifune is just fucking hilarious. He just starts raising the alarm, and he's like, oh, now you're, samurai. You know, now you want us. Hey, where was our welcome before? And then at the end, when everything's done, the samurai just kind of get ignored again, which is sad, but it does, you know, still prove to his point that, you know, there can be a conflict in which everyone can unite and move past their differences to get something done.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and they talk about that at the end of the movie, where the samurai feel like they still lost the battle, because they lost, 3 of them died. And even though the farmers were happy and stuff, but the farmers, just like he said, well, let them have their victory. You know, they don't know any better, you know, but they did their duty as what they were called upon to do as samurai, and to save these people. So at the end, they felt they could walk away and realize that, you know, they did what they had to do. And I think that's what just makes Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai such an all-time classic, is that it still plays on things that are important today, and the way we view people, and the way we get along with people, you know, and it addresses those things in the right manner. Like when the 2 lovers, he says, hey, you know, and things happen in battle. Remember what it was to be young. It's okay. Who says that two people can't be in love just because they're from different classes? It's almost ahead of its time with that kind of thinking is in 1956, or 54, and dealing with that era. People weren't always acceptable of everyone, especially, coming out of World War II and stuff. People didn't know how to view Japanese culture and things like that. People were still learning a lot about each other in the world at that time. And but here Kurosawa made a film that every generation can enjoy and everyone can watch and find something out of it. Such a remarkable achievement in filmmaking,
really,
and storytelling.
To have the impact it still has today. There's still people, making retrospectives about this film, talking about this film, making remakes about this film. So just, 70 years ago, this movie came out and it's still rippling, through time.
Yeah. Just an unbelievable achievement and I think a perfect pick for, 400th. I know we have thrown around the idea of, I think you had mentioned doing the Magnificent Seven, and I say, yeah, it's a good one, but I felt like you could never do that without doing this one first on the show. You have to do the movie that inspired it.
Yeah. And then it's like it would have just overshadowed talking about the Magnificent Seven, because then you'd have to talk about Seven Samurai, and then you'd have to talk about how Magnificent Seven didn't quite do it as good as this, but so you gotta talk about.
And the 60s Magnificent Seven is a good film too, but it's and it's considered a Western classic.
That cool.
Right. But this movie though is the one that started it all, and it started for a lot of film directors today. And if you've never seen this movie, it's on HBO. I still call it HBO Max. I know it's just called Max now. But it is on Max. It's a Warner Brothers film, so it's in their archives, and it's also a Criterion collection, Blu-ray DVD, one of their early Criterion collections, which is a company, for people that don't know, that take films they deem important and they release them on special edition DVDs and Blu-rays. Even though some of Criterion's choices are sometimes questionable. But that's a whole other thing. Like Armageddon was a Criterion collection movie. If anyone wants to, So that just tells you a lot right there.
It's because of Steven Tyler doing the soundtrack.
It's just there was a time where Criterion was trying to be hip and cool, and they did Armageddon, The Rock, 2 Michael Bay films. RoboCop. RoboCop is an important film, but is it Criterion important? So there was this time there where Criterion was trying to be a little more hip and sell some copies. Let's just put it that way. But none of those are as good as this movie. So Seven Samurai, all-time classic, and good 400th episode, movie worthy. Before we get out of here today, next week on the show, we move into our beginning of our summer of blockbuster features on the Rebel Radio podcast. We're going to have we'll just tell you, we're going to do some like Spider-Man 2, X-Men Days of Future Past, Deadpool, Lucy, the Scarlett Johansson action film, just some blockbuster summer type films. We're going to have fun this summer doing some stuff over June and July. And then we'll get into August with my birthday pick, which I don't know what it is yet. Usually I know by now. Strangely, I don't know what it's going to be yet. So we're going to have a blockbuster summer of films this summer and just have movies that were box office successes and have some fun. And we're going to start that off next week with it's the 40th anniversary of this film this year. And we've covered, we skipped the original Star Trek because it's a fucking bore. And we did do Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. But if you remember, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan left us with a cliffhanger with the death of Spock. Well, lo and behold, they made a sequel to that, and that is Star Trek III, The Search for Spock.
Now, join the search to the final frontier of space adventure. These are the continuing voyages of the starship Enterprise. Her ongoing mission is to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life forms and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone.
Admiral James T. Kirk and the crew of the Enterprise take off on their greatest mission, beyond anything they have ever accomplished before.
Kirk, you do this, you'll never sit in the captain's chair again.
For the one thing that really matters, to find their friend.
Why did you leave him on Genesis? Spock trusted you.
An odyssey to the planet man created. A savage world that could destroy them all.
Fire, Mr. Scott.
The needs of the many outweigh
The needs of the few.
Join the search. Sense the overwhelming power of an adventure that trebles anything that has gone before.
This entire crew seems on the edge of obsessive behavior concerning Mr. Spock.
Sir, security reports the door to Spock's quarters has been forced.
Star Trek III. The Search for Spock.
So we are boldly going to go where no man has gone before, and we're going to go on this journey with Kirk and his crew to find Spock as they find out that he's still alive or in some form, and they go look for him on the planet Genesis. The great Christopher Lloyd, who we just talked about last week in Back to the Future Part 2, is in this movie as the villain. And I legitimately, this film was not as well received as Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, but I really liked The Search for Spock. It has some good action sequences in it, and I kind of enjoy this movie.
I think Kirstie Alley's in this film, right?
I think so, yeah. And and then we get the death of Kirk's son in this movie. So there's a lot going on in Search for Spock, man. It's a good film. We're going to start off our summer of blockbuster films with Star Trek III: The Search for Spock on next week's episode of the show. We thank anyone who's ever listened to the episode of the show or sent us a well wish on social media for letting us get to 400 episodes. And, from the bottom of our hearts, from the Rebel Radio Podcast and the rebelradiopodcast.com, as I mentioned earlier, is where you can find all your needs. Follow us on our social media links. And quick thank you to you, Matt, too, for hanging with me for 400 episodes and not giving up on me. Because, I know sometimes you probably you're such a good dude, you won't say it, but sometimes you're probably like, man, why did Mark pick that fucking movie? But you'll never say it because that's the kind of dude you are.
I didn't want to do this film. I wanted to do Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze.
Now Long on the other hand, Long would tell me I don't want to fucking do that movie. But Matt, you are, and I can't thank you enough. And
no problem, man.
All these episodes, man, I think you've only missed like one episode. I think. I mean, a long day episode. I think in 400, maybe one, maybe two. You haven't missed much.
Maybe one or two. Really. Yeah. I definitely, sometimes life gets in the way. We always say that in the world of podcasting, life gets in the way sometimes. But you gotta adapt and overcome, and we try and do that here. That's what we try and do.
That's right. Yep, that's how we do it. But so until next week, continue to be safe out there. Thank you for listening. This has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
Remember, as always, just go there and do it.
Just go there and do it.